So I'm going to show you guys today the beginner soldering setup and explain everything that you need for it. I'm going to make a hairpin out of these two pieces that are ready to solder, so I thought I'd just show you guys how I do that. First of all, the things you're going to need are the following. So this is my jewelry setup that I have here in my studio. This is a soldering tile, so this protects your surface underneath from any excess heat. So you need one of these. Then you have an option of having different soldering blocks. This is a magnesium block, or you get them in charcoal, which work just as well. Then what you're also going to need is some flux. I have got the cone form, but you can get them in many different, you can get a liquid one as well, but I like this one because it lasts a really long time. So what I'm going to do later is add some liquid and make that into a paste, but I'll demonstrate that later. What you also need is a pickle. So I've got a pickling, which is from Cookson's here in London. So it's safe pickling powder and contains 100% non-toxic food grade materials. Perfect. When you dispose of that, you do need to add some bicarbonate of soda to the pot, which will fizz up crazy so that it neutralizes the acid so that you can pour it down the drain. So make sure you do that if you use that. You can also actually use white vinegar and lemon, which also works. It takes quite a bit longer, but it works as well. Right, then I have also got here a little torch. For most small things, a small torch works just fine. If you're soldering really big things, then you can buy one of the big gas canisters and fill that up and put a bigger nozzle on that. But for most things, this one's pretty good. It also focuses the flame quite nicely, which I will show you guys when we get there. Then we have got these wonderful things called third arms, which you can connect these reverse tweezers to. So I have a straight pair and a pointy pair, which is really good for just arranging different things that you might need to solder. So I have another third arm thing there if we need that. Then you're going to need a probe, and you're to hold, when you're maneuvering things, you need to hold this in your left hand because, sorry, your right hand, because you hold your left hand has the torch in it. So you can control things that you move around much better like that. Then you are going to need tiny little solder chips, which I have chopped up here. They come in hard, easy, and medium. I just use hard because it has the highest content of actual silver, which means it's a truer color to silver, so it doesn't change color as much as the other ones do. If you're doing a piece that only has one or two joins, the hard one is fine, but if you are creating a piece with lots of different joins in, then it's a good idea to start with start with hard for the first ones and then move your way down to medium and easy, because the other ones melt at a lower temperature, which means your previous joins won't come undone when you are soldering the following joins, if that makes sense. Right, next here we have got a pair of copper tongs. Super important that they're either copper or plastic. Do not use any steel, because what you need to do is pick up your piece, quench it in the water, and then chuck it into the pickle. So obviously this is going to go into the liquid in the pickle, and if it is steel, it is going to tarnish your pieces in there and turn everything pink. Maybe what you want, maybe not. Most of the time, not. So make sure that those are copper or plastic. Then we've also got tweezers here, same thing, brass. So brass is also fine in case it gets in the pickle, that's okay. I don't usually put them in there, but make sure that if they are steel, that they don't go near the pickle. Right, these are obviously used for picking up the tiny bits of solder and positioning them in place. Right, I think that is basically the main setup that I'm going to need. So I'm going to start soldering the piece. So first of all, what I want to do is add a little bit of water to the flux to make a nice little paste. The point of the flux is to stop oxidization from happening, because when your piece oxidizes, then the solder won't flow. So we don't want that. So you need to just keep the area that you're going to solder clean so that it doesn't oxidize. Dries up pretty quickly in this one, so I'm just going to grab a bit of extra water. And you just want you just want to place this where you're going to solder. So I'm going to put a little bit over here where that's going to go. Plonk that over there. And then the one side of this is very nice and flat, which is the side that was underneath when I hammered. So it's nice and flat. Whenever you solder, you need to have absolutely no gaps between the things you're going to solder, because solder does not fill gaps. So we're going to place this over there, but then I'm going to lift it up and put some solder underneath it. Obviously, I need to make sure that I get this nice and straight. For this piece, I'm going to use a reasonably big piece of solder, but generally the rule is use as little solder as you possibly can. The reason being less cleaning up, and yeah, you don't want to be filing everything away, and also it's just a waste. So I'm going to put that under there and try my best to position this in the middle. So that looks pretty good, I'd say. Okay, so I'm going to use my probe to make sure that I push that down and keep that nice and tight between there when I'm soldering. Or actually, do you know what I might do? In this case, just to make my life a little bit easier, because my hands are a little bit shaky today. So just to make sure that you don't bump it out of place, it's a good idea to just secure it. So I'm going to just press this against here, just to make sure it doesn't move. I will still use my probe to push it down on the actual spot. That'll do for now. Alrighty, so we're going to switch this guy on. I need to just turn the light a little bit away so that I can see the metal changing color, so we can see what's happening a bit better. So I'm going to switch this torch on, lock it into place, and as you can see, can you see the flame? Yes, so the tip of that blue is the hottest point of the flame. So it's important to know that when the solder is about to flow, when the metal gets to kind of an orangey color, that you need to focus the tip of that blue flame directly onto the solder, and then it will flow. Unfortunately for this, we're not going to actually see the solder flowing probably because it's underneath there, but you should see this piece go down hopefully. Let's not burn that. Alright, so I need to heat up this entire piece here. I'm going to actually just make this flame a bit stronger. Okay, so I'm going to heat this up. So you've got to heat the whole area that you're going to solder. So I need to heat a little bit down this rod as well, because otherwise the heat just dissipates really quickly and it doesn't get to the right temperature. So it needs to be pretty darn hot for it to solder. So you're going to see it kind of change rainbowy colors, so that's when it's getting closer. But then when it starts to kind of glow slightly orange, like that, then you see that orangey color, right? So that should do it, right? Okay, and switch that off. Okay. Right, hopefully that's soldered. Usually you can see the solder and you're able to see it actually just flow. In this case, because it's underneath there, I didn't see it, but let's just quench it and check. So I'm going to chuck it in this water, satisfying sound, and just cool the whole piece down. Don't want to burn my fingers. Right, let's have a look, investigate, and just check if that's soldered on. Yep, that's attached. Great. Lovely. So now you see how tarnished it is. So what I'm going to do now is put it in the pickle and then leave it in there for a couple of minutes. The pickle's on, so it's hot. So this is just like a rice cooker. You get ones that have a kind of like a temperature gauge, which regulates the temperature, but sometimes you just have to switch this one off when it gets too hot. Otherwise, we'll leave that in there for a couple of minutes and check on it in a moment.
5 minutes later.
Okay, let's get our piece out of the pickle. So let's just give it a little rinse off because you don't want to touch the acid. So a little rinse in the water. Alrighty. Let's give it a little dry off. So some of this pink will remain on there, but that's okay because we'll be able to sand that off. So don't worry about that if you see a little bit of pink on the surface. So let's just dry that off. so we can clean it. Alright, so I'm going to clean this piece up and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Alright, so there is the finished piece. So we can put that in your hair. Obviously, if you have longer hair, it's a lot nicer and easier to use, but, you know, you get the idea. Put it through like that. Voila! And that is the Isabel hairpin. I hope you find that interesting. There you go. That's how you solder.